Big news from the grocery world! Some shelves are about to look a little emptier! Starting next month, 15 well-loved products will be disappearing. That means if one of your favorite snacks, sauces, or pantry staples is on the list, you might want to grab it while you still can. Now, I get it. It's never fun when a go-to item suddenly vanishes. It feels a bit like when your favorite show suddenly gets pulled from streaming without warning. But don't worry. This also opens the door to try new options, discover hidden gems, and maybe even find a better replacement. So next time you're cruising the aisles, pay attention. You might just catch the very last box, bag, or bottle before it's gone for good. And hey, don't keep it a secret. Let your friends know too. With that said, let's dive into the 15 grocery products leaving next month. 15. The fading future of cacao. Chocolate lovers might want to brace themselves because cacao, the key ingredient in chocolate, is facing an uncertain future. West Africa, particularly nations like Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, has long been the backbone of global cacao production. These tropical regions provide the humid climate that cacao trees need to thrive. But climate change has started to disrupt this delicate balance. Rising temperatures, longer dry spells, and unpredictable rainfall patterns have begun to reduce yields. Farmers are finding it harder than ever to maintain healthy crops, and the results are showing in smaller harvests and declining quality. For families who have been cultivating cacao for generations, this is more than just a business problem. It's a cultural loss. As one farmer in Ghana explained, cacao has been at the center of their lives for decades. It funds education, supports entire villages, and connects their history to the global love for chocolate. But when the climate refuses to cooperate, even hard work and tradition cannot keep the trees productive. And when supply drops, prices inevitably rise. That means chocoholics around the world could soon face higher costs or even fewer options on the shelves. Imagine walking into the store and realizing that your favorite chocolate bar, baking cocoa, or hot chocolate mix now costs significantly more, or worse, isn't available at all. This scenario, once unthinkable, is slowly becoming a reality. If cacao cultivation continues to shrink, we might be looking at a future where chocolate becomes less of an everyday treat and more of a luxury item reserved for special occasions. 14. The avocado struggle. Avocados have gone from being a niche fruit to a global sensation. From guacamole at parties to avocado toast on brunch menus, their popularity has skyrocketed over the last decade. But here's the problem. The regions that produce the majority of the world's avocados, California in the United States and several states in Mexico, are grappling with a water crisis. Avocado trees are notoriously thirsty, requiring massive amounts of water to grow and bear fruit. With droughts becoming longer and more severe, farmers are struggling to keep up with demand. In Mexico, which supplies a huge share of the world's avocados, some farmers have begun experimenting with new irrigation techniques, hoping to stretch limited water resources further. But these solutions are costly and not always effective. California faces similar issues, as reservoirs and rivers are drying up faster than they can be replenished. The combination of high demand and shrinking supply has already started to push prices higher, and that trend doesn't look like it's slowing down. For many farmers, it's a heartbreaking situation. Avocado cultivation has provided livelihoods for generations, but without enough water, trees weaken, fruit production drops, and entire orchards are at risk of being abandoned. As one grower in Michoacan explained, "We're not just losing a crop, we're losing a way of life." And for consumers, it means those creamy green slices on burgers, salads, or sushi rolls could become a costly indulgence. Imagine paying double for a small bag of avocados, or finding guacamole priced like fine cheese. If water scarcity continues, avocados might shift from being a weekly grocery purchase to a rare treat reserved for special meals. The rise and fall of avocado availability is a clear reminder of how climate challenges in one part of the world ripple across kitchen tables everywhere. 13. The coffee crisis. For millions of people, the day doesn't truly begin until that first sip of coffee. It's not just a drink, it's a ritual, a comfort, and in many ways, the fuel of modern life. But what if that daily cup became harder to find or too expensive to enjoy regularly? Unfortunately, this possibility is no longer far-fetched. Coffee relies on very specific growing conditions: stable temperatures, predictable rainfall, and fertile soils. Countries like Brazil, Vietnam, and Colombia, which dominate the world's coffee supply, are seeing those conditions disrupted at alarming rates. Erratic weather patterns have thrown planting and harvesting cycles into chaos. Unseasonal rains destroy blossoms before beans can form. Droughts weaken trees, leaving them vulnerable to pests and diseases that thrive in changing climates. Farmers who once depended on steady yields are now facing devastating losses year after year. As one Colombian grower described, "Sometimes we prepare for harvest, only to find that pests or heavy rains have wiped out half the crop overnight." The ripple effects are massive. When production drops in these key regions, global supply shrinks and prices climb. Already, coffee drinkers have noticed fluctuations at their local cafes or supermarkets. Specialty roasts and single-origin beans are especially at risk, as the regions that produce them are often smaller and more sensitive to environmental shifts. Beyond the economic strain, there's also an emotional weight for farmers who have grown coffee for generations. Entire communities rely on this crop not only for income but for identity. To lose coffee is to lose a part of their heritage. For consumers, it's a sobering thought. Imagine waking up one morning to realize your favorite brew is no longer affordable, or worse, no longer available at all. The comforting routine of coffee first, everything else later could soon become a luxury lifestyle choice rather than a daily habit. 12. The Cherry Challenge. Cherries are often thought of as the jewels of summer, bright, tart, and bursting with flavor. Whether piled high in baskets at farmers' markets or baked into a warm cherry pie, they're a seasonal favorite across the United States. But the reality is that these glossy fruits are increasingly difficult to grow. The Pacific Northwest and Michigan, two of the country's largest cherry-producing regions, depend heavily on a balance of cold winters and mild springs to ensure strong harvests. Unfortunately, that balance is slipping away. Winters are becoming warmer, robbing trees of the chilling hours they need to set fruit properly. Even when the cold does arrive, sudden warm spells can trigger premature blossoming, leaving crops vulnerable when frost inevitably returns. Farmers like Anna in Michigan describe the heartbreak of seeing entire orchards damaged overnight. "Some years," she says, "we barely have a harvest. It feels like we're at the mercy of the weather." The unpredictability not only threatens their livelihood, but also destabilizes the availability of cherries nationwide. A fruit that once seemed abundant each summer could soon be far less reliable, with shorter seasons and higher prices. For consumers, this means your go-to cherry desserts, jams, and juices might become harder to find. Imagine going to the store in July, only to see cherries priced like exotic imports or not stocked at all. The joy of grabbing a handful of fresh cherries might shift from being a summer ritual to a rare treat. If conditions don't improve, cherry lovers could find themselves clinging to frozen or imported options, while the fresh local harvest becomes a nostalgic memory. 11. Salmon on the brink. Few foods symbolize healthy eating and gourmet dining as much as salmon. From grilled fillets to sushi rolls, it's a staple in kitchens and restaurants around the world. But behind the scenes, wild salmon populations are in deep trouble. In the North Atlantic and the Pacific Northwest, warmer waters and shifting ocean currents are wreaking havoc on salmon's natural life cycle. These fish depend on cold, nutrient-rich waters to thrive. Rising temperatures, however, reduce oxygen levels and disrupt the smaller fish and plankton they feed on. The result? Salmon that are not only fewer in number but also smaller and weaker. Noah, a fisherman in Alaska, notes that the difference is impossible to ignore. "It's not just the numbers," he says. "The salmon are smaller, less robust. It's concerning for our future." For communities that have relied on salmon for food and cultural identity for generations, this decline is devastating. Indigenous groups, coastal families, and commercial fishers are watching traditions slip away along with the fish. For consumers, the effect is equally sobering. Salmon has already become one of the pricier seafood options, and if populations continue to dwindle, fresh wild salmon may transition from a dinner table staple to an occasional luxury. Farmed salmon can partially fill the gap, but it doesn't carry the same nutritional profile or flavor. And for many seafood lovers, it simply isn't the same. Imagine walking into a restaurant where salmon was once a signature dish, only to find it missing, or worse, available only at a sky-high price. The decline of wild salmon is more than just a supply issue. It's a signal that even the oceans aren't immune to the consequences of environmental change. 10. The honey dilemma. Honey has always been more than a sweetener. It's nature's golden medicine, cherished for centuries across cultures. But this golden treat is facing a crisis. Bees, the tireless workers behind every jar of honey, are disappearing at alarming rates. The reasons are complex and intertwined. Widespread pesticide use, destruction of wild habitats, disease, and the overarching influence of climate change. Each factor chips away at bee populations, and together they've created a global decline that beekeepers can't ignore. Angela, a beekeeper from Oregon, shared her perspective with heavy sadness. Each year we're seeing fewer bees in our hives. It's heartbreaking. You care for them, you nurture them, and still their numbers fall. This decline doesn't just threaten honey. It affects pollination for countless crops that depend on bees. Apples, almonds, cucumbers, and dozens of other foods rely on these tiny pollinators to reproduce. Without them, grocery store shelves could look far emptier than just missing honey jars. Still, the honey shortage alone is enough to cause concern. Morning routines could change when that drizzle of honey on toast, yogurt, or tea is no longer easily available. Prices are already creeping up as yields decline, and if bee populations don't stabilize, honey could become a premium product enjoyed only occasionally. Beyond the consumer impact, there's also a symbolic loss here. Honey is one of the oldest natural foods known to humanity, and to see it vanish from everyday life would mark a profound shift in our relationship with the natural world. The honey dilemma is more than a grocery issue. It's a reminder of just how fragile the balance between humans, food, and the environment truly is. The shrinking world of olive oil. Olive oil has long been a cornerstone of kitchens around the world. Its rich flavor enhances everything from simple salads to gourmet dishes, and it has been celebrated for centuries not just as a cooking ingredient, but as a symbol of Mediterranean culture. Spain, Italy, and Greece produce the lion's share of the world's supply, with olive trees that have been cultivated for generations. Yet today, these iconic trees are under threat. Unpredictable weather patterns, ranging from unusual late frosts to extended droughts, are wreaking havoc on yields. Farmers who once relied on consistent harvests are seeing their production decline year after year. Giorgio, an olive grower from southern Italy, shared his worry. "Some of our trees have been here for hundreds of years. We've never seen conditions like this. Every year yields drop a little more and the uncertainty is overwhelming." The impact goes beyond the farm. When production falls, prices rise, and a pantry staple that used to be affordable could soon feel like a luxury item. Chefs and home cooks alike may need to rethink how they use olive oil, or seek substitutes that simply don't have the same depth of flavor. If these trends continue, the familiar sight of olive oil bottles lining supermarket shelves may become less common. What was once a daily cooking essential could gradually shift into something reserved for special meals. For anyone who cherishes the taste of high-quality olive oil, this shrinking supply serves as a stark reminder of how climate change can touch even the most traditional and time-honored foods. 8. Quinoa's struggle. Quinoa has risen from its humble origins in the Andean highlands to become a global superfood. Packed with protein, fiber, and essential nutrients, it has found a place in everything from salads and bowls to breakfast dishes. But the soaring demand for quinoa has collided with a harsher reality for the farmers who grow it in Bolivia and Peru. Changing rainfall patterns, soil degradation, and increasing temperatures are putting tremendous stress on these crops. Rosa, a quinoa farmer in Bolivia, explained the challenges. The rains are no longer reliable, and the soil is struggling to recover each season. It's becoming harder to grow enough to meet demand while maintaining quality. This isn't just a local issue, it has global consequences. Supermarkets and health food stores worldwide rely on a steady supply of quinoa, and as production dips, prices inevitably rise. For consumers who enjoy quinoa regularly in salads, grain bowls, or even breakfast porridge, what was once an everyday ingredient may soon become a special treat. The struggle over quinoa is also a cautionary tale about sustainability and food systems. These crops have been part of the Andean ecosystem for centuries, and the pressure from global demand combined with climate stress is pushing them to the brink. Without intervention or adaptation strategies, quinoa might shift from a common staple to a sought-after delicacy, forcing shoppers to pay more or look for alternatives that lack the same nutritional benefits. The humble superfood that once seemed abundant may soon be a rare commodity. 7. Wine on uncertain ground. Wine has always been more than just a drink. It's a cultural experience, a symbol of celebration, and a testament to the land and climate that nurtures the grapes. Regions like Napa Valley in California, Bordeaux in France, and Tuscany in Italy are world-renowned for producing wines with distinct flavors shaped by their environment. But climate change is making those environments far less predictable. Rising temperatures, irregular rainfall, and shifting growing seasons are affecting grape quality and harvest timing, leaving vintners scrambling to adapt. Pierre, a winemaker from Bordeaux, described the challenge. "We're trying new grape varieties and experimenting with different techniques, but it feels like a race against time. The climate is changing faster than we can adjust." The effects are already noticeable in wine quality, yield, and consistency. For wine lovers, this translates to higher prices and a narrower selection. Bottles that were once reliably available each year may become rare finds, and some vintages might simply not meet the high standards set by tradition. Wine enthusiasts may need to adjust their expectations. From special dinners to casual meals, the wines that complement every occasion could become harder to come by. What was once a predictable indulgence might slowly turn into a luxury experience, reserved for those willing to pay a premium. This changing landscape of vineyards reminds us that even time-honored pleasures like wine are not immune to the effects of a warming world. 6. The canned soup conundrum. Canned soups have long been a kitchen staple, providing quick, convenient meals for busy families and individuals alike. From hearty chicken noodle to creamy vegetable medleys, they have been the go-to comfort food for decades. But behind the label, the production of these soups is becoming increasingly complicated. Every ingredient, from fresh vegetables and meats to spices, is facing supply chain pressures. Extreme weather events, from floods to droughts, have disrupted harvests, making it harder for manufacturers to source enough raw materials. Meanwhile, transportation challenges, including rising fuel costs and logistical bottlenecks, are slowing delivery from farm to factory. To make matters worse, even the aluminum used for cans, a seemingly mundane material, is under strain. The Aluminum Consortium recently highlighted that limited production and increased demand are contributing to higher prices and potential shortages. This means that even if the ingredients are available, packaging them into the familiar cans may be a challenge. Samantha, a spokesperson for a major soup brand, described the situation as a cascade of issues, where delays and shortages compound at every step. For consumers, the implications are clear. Those who rely on canned soups for quick meals might soon find their favorite varieties in shorter supply or priced higher. Stocking up while availability remains could save a last-minute scramble later. The comforting bowl of soup that once seemed effortless may start to feel like a rare treat, highlighting just how fragile even everyday pantry staples can be in a world of increasing supply chain uncertainty. 5. Almonds in peril. Almonds have become a dietary superstar, prized for their health benefits, versatility, and rich flavor. From snacking to almond milk, butter, and flour, they are everywhere in modern kitchens. Yet the story behind these tiny nuts is one of growing concern. California, which produces the vast majority of the world's almonds, is facing persistent drought conditions that have stretched water resources to the limit. Almond trees are notoriously water-intensive, and with rivers, reservoirs, and aquifers running low, farmers are forced into difficult decisions about which orchards to irrigate and which to let go. Carlos, an almond grower from California, described the stress the trees are under. The lack of water is affecting everything. Some orchards may need to be abandoned simply because there isn't enough water to keep them alive. The consequences extend far beyond the orchards. Almond milk lovers, bakers, and health-conscious snackers could all feel the impact. Reduced yields translate to higher prices and potential shortages in stores. This situation also underscores the fragile connection between climate and the foods we take for granted. Almonds, once an affordable pantry staple, may increasingly become a premium item. For those who rely on almond-based products daily, it's a stark reminder that environmental conditions halfway around the world can dramatically affect what ends up on our plates. The humble almond, so essential to modern diets, is suddenly a crop worth watching closely. 4. Vanilla's vulnerable harvest. Vanilla has a unique place in kitchens and culture alike. Its sweet, warm aroma enhances everything from cookies and cakes to ice cream and specialty drinks. Yet the delicate vanilla orchid, primarily grown in Madagascar, is confronting a growing threat from nature itself. Cyclones, erratic rainfall, and fluctuating temperatures are causing havoc for vanilla plantations. Unlike many other crops, vanilla requires careful hand pollination and meticulous curing processes, meaning even a single disruption can ripple through the entire supply chain. Ina, a vanilla farmer from Madagascar, described the anxiety. Each cyclone doesn't just threaten this year's harvest, it puts the following season at risk as well. Any disruption can delay flowering, reduce bean quality, and ultimately limit the amount of vanilla available globally. These challenges, combined with steadily rising global demand, are creating pressure on prices and availability. For consumers, the impact is already tangible. From vanilla-infused desserts to lattes and even scented household products, the familiar scent and taste may become increasingly costly or harder to find. What was once a readily available flavoring may gradually become a luxury. For anyone who cherishes the sweet aroma and rich taste of vanilla, the message is clear. The golden bean's delicate dance with nature is under threat, and its scarcity could touch kitchens, bakeries, and cafes worldwide. 3. Bananas under threat. Bananas are more than just a fruit in American households. They are a constant presence in breakfast bowls, smoothies, baked goods, and snacks. Their convenience, sweetness, and creamy texture have made them a staple for families nationwide. But beneath their cheerful yellow exterior, bananas are facing a silent crisis. The vast majority of bananas exported to the U.S. belong to a single variety, the Cavendish. While this uniformity guarantees consistent taste and texture, it also leaves the crop extraordinarily vulnerable to diseases. The most alarming threat today is Panama disease, a soil-borne fungal infection that has been devastating banana plantations in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Once it infects a field, there is no easy cure, and entire plantations can be wiped out within months. Diego, a banana farmer in Ecuador, described the scene with palpable concern. Watching acres of banana trees collapse overnight is heart-wrenching. We're working around the clock, experimenting with resistant strains, but the disease spreads faster than we can contain it. For consumers, the implications are both immediate and tangible. A dwindling supply could mean slightly higher prices at the grocery store, limited availability of certain brands, and even a shift in the types of bananas offered. Beyond economics, this situation underscores a larger truth. Our dependence on monoculture farming leaves even beloved foods exposed to global challenges. The banana, a fruit that has brought joy and nutrition for generations, could soon become a reminder of how fragile our food systems can be. 2. Cheese facing climate strains. Cheese is a culinary cornerstone, celebrated for its rich flavors, textures, and versatility. From creamy brie and sharp cheddar to tangy Gouda, it plays a vital role in meals across the U.S. and beyond. Yet the farms that supply this essential dairy product are increasingly feeling the effects of a changing climate. Regions like Wisconsin and California, the heartlands of American cheese production, are experiencing extreme swings in weather, long dry spells interrupted by sudden heavy rainfall that disrupt the delicate balance necessary for high-quality milk. The root of the problem lies in what cows eat. Dairy cows rely on consistent, nutrient-rich feed to produce milk with the proper fat and protein content, which directly influences the quality of cheese. When weather unpredictably alters the growth of feed crops, milk quality fluctuates, making it challenging for cheesemakers to maintain the standards consumers expect. Jennifer, a dedicated dairy farmer from Wisconsin, described the struggle. Keeping milk quality consistent in this kind of unpredictable weather feels like trying to hit a moving target. One season's crop may be perfect and the next barely usable. For cheese lovers, the effects are subtle but significant. Popular varieties may become costlier. Seasonal or specialty cheeses could become harder to source, and even everyday blocks of cheddar or mozzarella might see tighter supply. It's a stark reminder that climate events in the fields ripple all the way to supermarket shelves, affecting prices, availability, and the foods we take for granted. For those who savor cheese as part of their daily meals or occasional indulgences, it may soon feel like a luxury rather than a standard pantry item. 1. Orange crops at risk. Oranges, and the fresh juice derived from them, are quintessential components of American breakfasts. States like Florida and California dominate the production of these citrus fruits, supplying grocery stores across the nation with sun-kissed, tangy oranges year-round. Yet these iconic crops are facing mounting threats from multiple fronts. Citrus greening, a bacterial disease spread by tiny insects called psyllids, continues to reduce both the yield and quality of orange trees. At the same time, extreme weather, including hurricanes, erratic rainfall, and prolonged droughts, adds another layer of uncertainty for growers. Robert, an orange farmer in Florida, captured the frustration and resilience of those tending these groves. Every year feels like a new challenge. Diseases, storms, and unpredictable weather keep testing us. We're giving it everything we've got, but the environment keeps throwing curveballs. The impacts are not just agricultural, they directly affect the consumer. Reduced harvests could mean higher prices for fresh oranges and orange juice, limited availability of certain varieties, and tighter supplies during peak consumption seasons. For juice enthusiasts, breakfast routines may need to adjust. The once reliable glass of freshly squeezed orange juice could become a seasonal or premium item. Beyond price and availability, the situation highlights a broader reality. Even staple fruits that seem abundant can be vulnerable to climate pressures, disease, and natural disasters. The story of the orange is a stark reminder that the foods we consider everyday essentials are intimately tied to the health of the ecosystems where they are grown. As we've seen, the grocery items we often take for granted, from bananas and cheese to cacao, avocados, and even everyday staples like canned soups, are facing unprecedented challenges. Climate change, unpredictable weather, diseases, and supply chain disruptions are creating ripple effects that reach all the way from farms across the globe to our kitchen shelves. What was once abundant could soon become scarce, and what was affordable might start to feel like a luxury. The takeaway is clear: staying informed and being proactive is more important than ever. Whether it's stocking up on essentials, exploring alternative products, or supporting sustainable farming practices, small actions today can make a difference tomorrow. These 15 products aren't just items on a shopping list. They're reminders of how connected we are to the planet, the people who grow our food, and the fragility of the systems we rely on every day. So next time you wander the aisles, take a moment to appreciate what's in front of you and consider how a little foresight could protect both your pantry and your pocket. The food we love is precious, and the time to act is now.